And thank you so much for your time on the PM News Desk this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kashni, and thank you for inviting me.
Phindile, we want women to be active participants of the economy. Talk to us of the challenges faced by women within the workplace, especially for those who are in high-profile leadership roles right now.
The challenges faced by women in the workplace, I normally categorize them into three, which is your legislation, which is your gender quotas that companies have to adhere to. That creates the first and foremost a challenge for women, because when they are appointed, they are seen as appointed for the numbers. It might be the same as for the racial equity, but for women it's even worse. Now, as a woman, you have to prove yourself within that first 3 months, which you have to go an extra mile than any other counterpart or males. And the second one is on the issue of facilities, where most companies, especially in corporates, the facilities are there for women. But going into industry itself, you find that the facilities are there, but the most important thing that you look at is your bathrooms, nothing else, no daycare centers. That is a facility for women. And you cannot separate women from kids or from children. To me, is a challenge, because the workplace must be willing to accept women not only for the numbers, but with these facilities as well. And the last one is the challenge of perception. There is a perception that women are emotional, women are irrational, and as a woman, you still have to walk an extra mile to prove yourself. So basically, we still have a way to go, but I cannot ignore the fact that South Africa has gone an extra mile, and South Africa has achieved a lot.
All right, so it sounds like support for working mothers right now is simply not there, and we do have much work to be done in that arena.
That's exactly the point. Support right from family into the company itself.
All right. Research shows, Phindile, that 1/10 of women in South Africa feel compelled to leave their jobs after unsuccessful dialogue. And it does become apparent now just how big the problem is.
The problem is big, and let me tell you, the industry is ready. And the industry does make strides to accept women. The challenge comes in when we have to, as women, go an extra mile outside the working hours. If you look at lower levels, supervisory levels, management levels, you'll find that a lot of women are there. The problem is, as we grow through industry, you now have to put in more hours. You now have to compromise taking your kids to school. You cannot make that an excuse. You have to compromise being at the sports day for your kids. So you might think that industry is not ready or industry is not welcoming, but industry is. It's just the environment you live in.
Phindile, in your new book, Leadership Navigation, you speak about reclaiming the stature of leadership. Talk us through this briefly. What do you mean? And of course, all this taking on new impetus during this month, because a generation ago, we had strong youth and women coordinated protests, yet we're not seeing a youth or young woman as fiery, as passionate as they were a generation ago. How do we keep our youth, and more especially our young girls, more engaged at this point?
Thing is, if you fight against oppression or something negative, you fight as a team and you fight for a common cause. In leadership, you are placed there alone. And mostly new leaders, which is what my book is all about. New leaders are afraid to say, I don't know, what now? Because you find maybe you are an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor, now you are made a manager. You were an expert in your field, well known as an expert. But as a manager, you are an immature. You are a novice.
So this is where grooming and mentorship would come into.
That's where difficulty is. And when you go to your mentor or to your predecessors, they will tell you that, just focus. It's easy. You go to leadership courses, they tell you about leadership styles. You go to other managers, they are busy. It's hectic. There is no one who will take you with a guideline. Tick what you need to do. You get an office, you get a big office that you can be comfortable in and manage. But what?
Phindile, very quickly, in a nutshell, how would you define exceptional leadership, and what are some of the qualities and skills one should be developing toward that goal?
Exceptional leadership in the book in chapter 3 is both leadership and management. You find that the silent generation was focusing more on management. Now Generation X and the millennial kids are looking at leadership. But believe you me, you cannot do one or the other. You need both, and you need to balance it out.
Phindile Mooketse, I do wish we had more time to chat. It's been a pleasure having you on the PM News Desk. Moving on to other news now. 6 elderly women